Ephesians 1:4, even as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world. Before it all began. Chosen. You. Me. Before anything happened. Chosen. Us. That we should be holy and blameless before him in love. And verse 5, he says, he predestined us for our adoption to himself as sons. Predestined us for adoption to himself as sons. Before I made a decision, his decision was already made. Through Jesus Christ, according to the purpose of his will. This man, Gideon, is in a cave, hiding, and he's told that he's going to deliver Israel. And Gideon decides to ask God for proof. We ask him for proof once. God gives him proof, and then it wasn't enough. So he asked him not once, twice. I need proof. I need proof again. And I've thought about this in the sense of, wonder if somebody was walking with Gideon, they saw him as rebellious. I don't know. But I wonder, I needed proof. I needed proof once, and then I needed proof twice. And I could see someone labeling it as such. And I think, was it self-doubt? Was it insecurity that Gideon's walking through? Because Gideon, it would seem that he opposed himself. He was fighting himself. It's that inner struggle, right? But here's what I love about the story of Gideon is God doesn't fight against it. He walks with it. Sometimes in our lives, it feels like what he's walking with. The fight isn't against God. See, God chose Gideon, and so works with him. I chose to have children, and in their good days, and in their work with them. God chose you. So your identity is proven in that God chose you. What Gideon's walking through, I can only imagine the struggles in the fight, hiding in the cave, feeling the least, feeling the weakest, and knowing that there should be more. This is 7 years that they spent hiding from the Midianites that are just wiping out their crop. So they don't have food. They don't have what are the internal battles and what's the inner dialogue that's taking place? And then my mind goes to, David. David's a shepherd boy, and David's tending to his sheep. And out of nowhere comes a lion. And David goes, and he faces the lion, and he takes the lamb out of the lion's mouth. Insecure? Probably not. Because it would be really difficult for me to see the lamb as savable. I would have a hard time seeing the lamb as something that I could help. But David is courageous. And David faces the lion. And it doesn't stop there, though. David faces a bear. And the same thing happens. And here's this setup for what David's about to walk through. Because now David faces a lion, he faces a bear, and later in life he's standing in front of a 10-foot tall or so giant. And I love what David said, because David doesn't come out the gate with, "I got this." I don't know about you, but if I saved something from a lion, I don't care if it was my dog's little teething toy. If I saved something from a lion, I would walk different the next day. Or a bear. Or a bear. I would walk with my head a little higher, my shoulders a little back. I would walk confident, knowing what I had just accomplished. But here's what David says. He said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of the Philistine." But it was the lamb that needed delivered. David sees himself as instrumental. I'm not insignificant. My purpose is greater. I'm not small. I'm mighty. But wait, it's not because of me. The Lord. The Lord did it. And here's the thing, God's not a respecter of person. And if the Lord chose David, the Lord chose you. Sometimes it takes a minute for our minds to catch up. We can experience salvation, but our minds still struggle in who we've always been. Second Corinthians 12:9 says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." Now this is David. I'm gonna come back to it in a minute. This is David. This is where David's at, right? His power is made perfect in. David is Scripture says he's a ruddy young little lad. It's not that he's this mighty warrior. He actually becomes this, but in the beginning, when he faces the lion and he faces the bear, David's not mighty. He's small. But his strength is made perfect in what? Weakness. Felt like it was always a thing for me. I couldn't expose a weakness. And the more I realize that I identify my weaknesses, the more I realize God is stronger than I ever could have imagined. I think back, how did I ever get through that situation? How did I ever get through that? This is how. Because his power is made perfect in weakness. Not in my boasting. So it says, therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. The power of Christ. So David stops pretending that he's got it all together. It's the opposite sometimes of what we want to portray, right? We see everybody's highlight. We see everybody. And so confidence doesn't grow by waiting for proof. When we see David walk through this, and our minds catching up. The Israelites were enslaved to the Egyptians for years. And the Israelites were delivered out of Egypt. And they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. And you can see in the wilderness, one scripture says, they struggled with murmuring and complaining. Don't we all? And here's the thing is, when Israel was delivered from Egypt, as you walk through the story, it seems as though they never really got delivered because they still thought like they did in Egypt. They still had the mindset like they did in Egypt. And so if confidence grows by being obedient, we see Israel come out, we see them in the wilderness, and we see Moses was their deliverer, and God was their deliverer, but he used Moses, and Moses helps the Israelites come out of Egypt, and he helps the Israelites in the wilderness, and Moses is trying to get them to this land of promise. Scripture says flowing with milk and honey. So it's got all the food that you would need, and here's the thing. As Israel is delivered from the wilderness, Egypt, wilderness, they cross through the Red Sea, and now they're ready to accept their promise. And here's the land of promise. They finally got to it, and they finally are able to possess it. And here's the problem. There's already a city there. And this city's called Jericho. And there's already people there. And there's already an army there. And they say these walls are 30 feet high and 20 feet thick. Listen, they just came out of slavery. They just came out of the wilderness. I would submit the question to you, where would your mind go if you were delivered out of Egypt, and then you were in the wilderness for so long, and then a miracle happens. There's a sea, and there's the Egyptian army. They're coming, and they're coming for the Israelites. They're going to take the Israelites back, and there's a sea, and there's the army. This isn't impossible, and the sea opens up, and they walk across on, the scripture says, dry ground. No doubt, so you didn't have to carry the mud of your past into your future. And here they go across on dry ground. And as they get across, the Egyptians start coming, and the water closes and swallows them up. They say to this day there's still remains down at the bottom of the Red Sea. So where would my mind go? I finally got across. This is a miracle after miracle, open door after open door. And here we are. Come on. I just want something easy for a change. I just need something to just. Jericho's warriors are even seasoned and intimidating. But here's the thing. If God chose you, it doesn't disqualify you. You're not disqualified. The Israelites may have been in a situation where it seemed impossible. But with God. So here they are. They're standing in front of the walls, 30 feet high, 20 feet thick. And God doesn't ask them to climb the wall. He doesn't say kick the wall down with your own strength, because you got to get through this. No. The patience in this. So he says, I want you to walk around the city. Just walk around the city. Now, I don't know. Can I be real with you for a minute? Listen, I've been walking in the wilderness for 40 years. I ain't trying to walk around walls. And sometimes this is what we do. We build up walls in our own life. But it's not who we are. We build up walls of that insecurity, walls of doubt, walls of. And it's not wise to go kicking the walls down. Because in some cases, these walls are 20 feet thick, 30 feet high. These aren't walls that are going to come down overnight. We're going to have to walk around this. So God tells them, just walk around the walls for 7 times, for 7 days. Walk. Day 2, and then walk. Day 3, and I don't know. But day 3 or day 4, I'd be like, this is enough. I got my steps in today. I'm good. Y'all can keep walking. Good. Fam, I don't know what it would look like. I don't know if the warriors are looking down off the walls. Can I submit something to you this morning? Can I tell you? Sometimes you got to just do it scared. Sometimes you got to just walk through it scared. The fear's going to be there. The doubt's even going to be there. The insecurity. Sometimes you walk through it. Isn't that faith? Knowing that, all right, God, you got this, because my mind ain't there. This insecurity, that's not who I am. This self-doubt, that's not who I am. I know, God, you created me for a purpose. Right now, this lion seems big. Right now, the giant seems too much. Right now, the walls seem too. He asked them to walk and do it quietly. They walk around the city. Anxious, man. Would they be anxious? Maybe. Do it scared. Do it anxious. Maybe some of them even struggling with depression, losing family members along the way, losing what they felt like was security, what they felt like was safety. Walk through it. Walk through it. Just walk through it with Jesus. maybe even addicted. This is not who I am. We live in a day and age where it's such a struggle sometimes to walk through just normal things. Not that we're less than. It's just life gets heavy sometimes. I wonder sometimes, what was it like back 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago when they didn't have all the speed? I say speed, I think often about even vehicles. When people used to walk and maybe get on a horse and maybe the top speed was 30 miles an hour, I think that's slow. I can't hardly handle getting behind somebody going 30 miles an hour in a 55. See, I caught that in a 55. And not only does our physical being race, our emotions are sped up. Our thoughts are sped up. And I seen something popped across my personal page, and I think it said something about 3 seconds or 4 seconds average watch time on a reel. And I thought, 4 seconds? That's the attention span that I have sometimes. Not because I'm bad. Just life is racing. And it sometimes not only does it race, but sometimes I'm fighting with, maybe I'm just trying to ignore something in my life, or maybe I'm fighting through fear, or maybe I'm fighting through insecurity, or maybe I'm fighting through addiction, identity issues. Maybe I'm fighting through, this is who I am. This is not who I am. This is who I am. This is not who I am. But going back to Gideon, the truth is, Gideon, God is with you, and He's fighting for you. Here's the crazy thing. When Gideon starts out, Gideon has a massive army. And God works with Gideon. Again, it's a beautiful story of God walking with someone in 4 or 5 chapters there in Judges 6, where He just walks with him. Just keeps walking with him. He just keeps, and you see all the doubt, you see all the insecurity, and God just keeps walking with him. He's like, hey, God, so we got 30,000 men. How you want us to go do this? He's like, whoa. Not 30,000. We need to dwindle that down. We're going to dwindle that down? What's it? And and in my mind, if I'm Gideon, I'm like, oh, I'm not. Maybe my prayers are just, there's too many? And it gets all the way down to 300. 300 men going to go to war against these people who have oppressed us over and over again for 7 years, and we're only taking 300 men. You thought, that's me. If I'm sitting in a coffee table, if I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm thinking, I'm all about faith, and I'm all about, but y'all, we need to be wise. Like, 300 is not going to cut it. We need warriors. Courage of Gideon to keep. And God just is with him the whole time. You know why? Because here's the truth. If God chose you, you're not disqualified. Your past doesn't disqualify you. Your insecurities don't disqualify you. Your doubts don't disqualify you. If he chose you, you're not disqualified. You're called. Well, but I'm not there yet. That's okay. That's okay. It's not about being there yet. It's about walking with him in it. That's it. It's about being present with God as you walk through, this is not who I am. Gideon went from, I'm the least, to, he said, the Lord is peace. David went from a shepherd boy to a giant slayer. Israel went from staring at walls to walking them down. And I want to encourage you today to go from, this is not who I am, to, this is who God says I am. God asked Gideon before he moves forward to tear down his father's idol. And here's something Israel was going through is during all this, and the Midianites was ransacking their land, and Israel erects idols. And here's the thing, they're still thinking like they were in Egypt. That's not who you are anymore. And so God says, Gideon, here's the first step. I need you to go tear down these idols. We got to tear them down. We got to, because I'm the Lord, your God. So we got to, that's got to stop. And so Gideon goes and tears down his father's idol. And at the same time, tearing it down. Can you imagine the lies in the mental war of the Israelites? Can you imagine what the Israelites are thinking? A shift here from Gideon to the Israelites. Gideon, who are you right now? What are you doing? This is how we've done it. And what happens? A public act of confidence that Gideon brings also brings his new identity. And here's the thing about walls. Gideon has the walls in his mind. Israel has them in Jericho. David faced walls when he sees Goliath. But every single time God showed up. Every time. And that wall doesn't define David. It doesn't define Israel's destiny. It doesn't define Gideon's destiny. It doesn't define yours. Walls that we put up, they don't define us. Why? Because God already called you. Already called. Walls of shame, walls of fear, walls of insecurity, walls of doubt, they don't get the final word. This is not who I am. God declared it at the cross. This